too much,
No, around the piping and ductwork it'll be fine. It's just some dirt falls out of there when you go, and that's why they've got a broom sitting here. So. Okay, so geothermal systems, you have to have some source, a ground source. Most of them, when they're installed these days, are what's called a closed loop. So they dig a big long trench, zigzag back and forth, and then you bury flexible plastic pipe in it, run a water and glycol solution through that. It dumps the heat to the soil or picks up the heat from the soil. That's called a closed loop system. You can also do that occasionally. They'll sink like a big heat exchanger at the bottom of a farm pond or something like that, where there's a thermocline and the water stays at constant temperature. That is also a closed loop. But what that means is that there's just one continuous loop of liquid running through the earth that we're using as our temperature source, or the source of our temperature differential. This one is a little bit different because this is an open loop system. So what they've got going on here is this is actually the incoming line from the well that services everything in this house. So this is potable water, this is drinking, cooking, bathing, all of that stuff. It branches off here, feeds all of that stuff in the house, but then actually continues along here, and that well water is actually the source of our water for our geothermal system. And then it leaves the geothermal system here and flows outside somewhere where it's either dumped to a surface stream or even sometimes back into the well. But because it is not a closed loop of piping, it's an open loop system, which is a little bit unusual in the geothermal world, but it means they're pretty confident that they have got a good, strong, reliable source of well water here. The downside is if that well pump ever goes, you'll lose your drinking water, cooking, bathing, your heat pump, all of that stuff. So they're going to have to make sure they keep that well pump well maintained here.
Let's talk about the maintenance schedule.
Maintenance schedule on a geothermal system, really probably no different than on a traditional HVAC system. It is, however, more critical because all of your equipment is crammed into one housing. You want to make sure there's no leaks in there. You want to keep it clean so that it can disperse heat the way it's supposed to. The control systems on a geothermal system tend to be a little bit more complicated than a traditional furnace or a traditional air source heat pump. And it's still considered a little bit of specialty HVAC equipment, so it can be expensive to repair if you have to. So money well spent to get this thing cleaned, serviced, and inspected by somebody who really knows their way around geothermal systems a couple of times a year. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.